Something you feel like saying?
No.
All traitors get put to the sword. It's his duty as king.
Final words?
None for you. But tell me something, boy. Does it trouble you to slay your own kin? What a surprise. I did not think you capable of sympathy, craven monster that you are.
Yes. But either way, I do what I must.
Well, to perish by your hand, it is a fate that I much deserve.
Which leaves the lords Elidor, Mateus, and Kleiman. We believe they, as well as many powerful Western lords, were accomplices in the assassination of the late king. Along with the Grand Duke, they seem to have received large sums of money and supplies from the imperial nobility. Thinking this to be recompense for the assassination in Duscur, we investigated the link further. In 1171, the mage Cornelia arranged for a certain powerful imperial family to come to the kingdom.
That's the year when my step-uncle, Lord Arundel, brought Edelgard here in exile.
Correct. We think Lord Arundel and his followers were behind the matter. They have deep ties to the imperial household.
As I suspected. You're a clever man, Margrave Gautier. Well done.
Thank you, Your Highness.
If we continue wringing information out of them at this pace, we'll soon have a clear picture of what transpired.
My uncle's attendants must also confess to the slaughter in Duscur. But now that things have come this far, we can't expect the Western lords to stay silent. We need a way to keep them far from power.
Oh, there are always ways, provided you're willing to keep all your options open.
Yes, I suppose so. Let us speak more of this later. For now, spread word of what you have found to every palace and pub in the land. That should help keep the lords in check.
Is that wise, Your Highness? If we announce that Rufus was involved in the tragedy of Duscur,
I will not feed my people half-truths. They deserve to know.
I've always admired that candor, Your Highness. Yet such news is sure to create a degree of unrest in the kingdom.
So you suggest we bury the truth? Should it somehow come to light, the people's faith in me will be forever shaken. If the kingdom is ever to part ways with our bloody past, this is the path we must walk.
fine words, though I doubt they'll appease the people of Duscur. Nor the rest of Fargus, many of whom will not be so quick to forgive.
Ha! We thought you might say as much, which is why His Highness and I have devised a solution. I will resign the title of Duke and pass it to my heir.
Spare me, Rodrigue. One person with wild ideas is already one too many.
It's not wild at all, Matthias. Someone must bear responsibility for what happened in Duscur. People will naturally seek to point the finger at His Highness, and we need him unsullied if he is to lead. Someone has to get down in the mud and bear the slings and arrows for him. Who better for such a task than me?
Rodrigue will abandon his title and work with Dedue to restore harmony between our people. I'm not asking him to take his life. Rather, he offered to spend it to set things to rights.
In that case, we've only to deal with the issue of the throne. I believe we should move forward with your coronation straight away.
I agree. My time at the Officers' Academy was a valuable experience, but I belong here now. Obviously, Felix won't be able to return either. Have him come to me later, so I can deliver the news and an apology.
I've already had a word and told him what must be done. You've no need to apologize.
Yes, I have. As for you, Gustav, you'll also be staying here in the kingdom.
But I abandoned my homeland. There can be no place for me in Fargus.
I will make a place for you. I need your help. Lady Rhea will understand.
It would be my great honor, Your Highness.
Send word to the Church and the Lords. Count Galatea will be in charge of contacting the South. Now, there's another topic I'd like to discuss. I wish to reorganize my army. Since I have you all assembled, I'd like to hear your suggestions.
You're still working, Dmitri? Have you even slept since the battle?
Never mind that. There's a favor I've been meaning to ask of you. It won't happen right away, but I'm considering the formation of a new private army. I need someone to captain them, and I was hoping it might be you.
And what does the leader of the kingdom need with a private army?
I fear my uncle may have rubbed off on too many of my knights. I'm not saying they're all bad, but it's clear as day that bribery ran rampant. To rectify the matter, I'm looking into a complete reorganization of the army. These next several years will be an age of civil war, and I want to be surrounded with the best and most loyal soldiers I can find.
Well, that does sound interesting. Still, I'm just a regular old grunt. Why put me in charge?
Because this will be an army of commoners, not knights and nobles. A mercenary like you is far more likely to earn their trust than some stuffy noble who's never known a day of hardship. Please, allow me to be clear. This is not an order. If you'd rather return to the academy, you're free to do so.
Are you kidding? I'm in. Thank you, Dmitri.
Having put down Rufus's revolt and ended his uncle's life, Dmitri draws closer to the truth regarding the tragedy of Duscur, and also begins the process of ascending the throne. All the while, the Adrestian Empire deals with a fierce power struggle in its capital, Enbar, while the Leicester Alliance finds themselves pitted against an invading Olmyran horde. Realizing the troubles of Fodlan will fall squarely on her young students' shoulders, Archbishop Rhea closes the Officers' Academy and permits her charges to return home. Azure Gleam. To war. It is the end of 1181. 2 years have passed since the Officers' Academy closed its doors. After ascending the throne, Dmitri labors to bring peace to the Holy Kingdom of Fargus. With Edelgard ruling as the Emperor of Adrestia and Claude leading the Leicester Alliance, the three erstwhile schoolmates strike out as the next generation of leaders. A new era is dawning in Fodlan, and much teeters at the brink of great change. The first tremors of a major upheaval rock the land as Edelgard declares war on the Central Church.
Pardon my lateness, Your Majesty.
You needn't worry, Felix. I know your duties are many. Though, I'm afraid we could not wait for you to begin the discussion.
This is about the Empire's declaration of war against the Central Church, yes?
Indeed. As you're aware, we have already begun accepting refugees from Garreg Mach. But a few days ago, I received a confidential request from Seteth, asking us to protect the higher-ranking members of the Church, including Lady Rhea herself. Of course, we'd only meet this eventuality were Garreg Mach to fall. As it stands, we find ourselves quite literally stuck between the Empire and the Church. I'm not sure how much longer we can remain neutral.
If I might, Your Majesty, troubling as it may be, I believe it prudent for us to reject this proposal from the Church outright. Offering them shelter will only serve to provoke an invasion from the Empire. This matter of the Southern Church concerns me as well, but I believe we have more important matters to be fussing over at the moment.
Your counsel is much appreciated, Viscount Elidor, but I assure you, things are not as cut and dry as you make them out to be. The mandate granted to the King of Fargus and all the lords who serve under him is given legitimacy only by the grace of the Church. Are we to renounce the very heart of this kingdom simply because we shudder at the thought of invasion? War will always come, at one point or another, and some degree of suffering is purely inevitable. You know this as well as I, Viscount.
You dare speak of suffering, do you? When the blaze of war will not scorch your lands in the north as it does ours?
I would normally agree that those of us from the Northern Territory should hold less sway in this discussion. But if Garreg Mach were to fall, the war fronts would not halt in the west. Your Majesty, what of House Rowe or Galatea, or the others in the south?
Not a word from Count Rowe as it stands, but I did receive a missive from Count Galatea. It read, "My people are not fools enough to rejoice in the surrender of their territories to invaders. There is no morality in turning our backs on the institution at the very foundation of our lives. We must support the Church as they have supported us."
Your Majesty, we owe a great debt to the Central Church for their role in quelling the uprising 2 years ago. To not repay such generosity in kind would risk weakening the trust of your vassals.
And if that happens, we might find ourselves right back in the same mess as before. They lack the crest of Blaidd, but there's no small number of nobles who might crawl out of the woodwork claiming royal blood. The kingdom's already seen the turmoil and division such claimants can bring after the death of King Klaus.
But Duke Fraldarius, surely we are better served attempting to head off the very real and imminent war at hand, instead of debating hypothetical unrest.
I don't want my people to suffer the pain of conflict. But does anyone here really think the Empire will simply stop if we appease their every demand? Suppose we do let the Empire take the Archbishop. And suppose we accept this new Southern Church. Then what?
I imagine the Empire plans to install the Bishop of the Southern Church, Count Varley, in Lady Rhea's place. I fear I've heard nothing good concerning either the man himself or his teachings. They purport to be an arm of the Church of Seros, but the Southern Church is nothing more than a mouthpiece for the Empire at large.
In other words, rejecting the Central Church in favor of this new Southern one would be no different from flat-out accepting imperial rule. It's hard to say just how they would treat our kingdom were such events to unfold. Though I imagine it would involve heavy taxation for the express purpose of bleeding Fargus dry and filling the imperial coffers.
Do you have something to add, Duke Fraldarius?
Not really, no. I was just wondering how long we were planning to continue this tedious charade. The question's simple. Do we hand over our kingdom and subject ourselves to Imperial rule or not?
I believe the Margrave has been quite clear as to what will happen if we give in to the Empire's demands. We've all been informed of the rapid reformation their region has undergone, many aspects of which I admire, I'm not ashamed to say. But an old, stubborn land like ours isn't suited for such tempestuous change. Radical new freedoms are not what the people of Fargus need right now. They need stability, steady improvement in their daily lives, and real, lasting change can only come from a solid foundation.
Sounds like your Majesty has made up his mind then. Just say the word and we'll leap into action.
The Holy Kingdom of Fargus will hereby offer asylum to the Church of Seros. Everyone, sharpen your blades and prepare for the battles ahead. Gustav, Dedu, make to ride at once. Our intentions must be made clear. Not only to the Church and the Empire, but to Count Rowe as well, and all the other lords who failed to answer my summons.
Understood, Your Majesty.
Hey, did you hear? Sounds like we're gonna be going to war with the Empire.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Ever since His Majesty ascended the throne, we've been fighting battle after battle through every corner of Fargus. But I never thought we'd be going toe-to-toe with the actual Empire. I'd be nervous if it even felt real.
Don't worry. It'll start feeling very real very quick once the sword starts swinging.
You know, that might be the single worst attempt at motivational speaking I've ever heard. Not that I'm much surprised at this point.
I can't help but wonder, though. What happens to Fargus now? I feel like things have been steadily improving lately, but not everyone favors His Majesty as I do.
Yeah, I hear the grumbles too. But there's not a ruler in the world who doesn't have their fair share of critics, right? All I know is, we wouldn't be where we are now if not for him. I mean, look at me. Saddled with some mysterious power we don't know anything about, and he still chose to put his faith in me. It's only right I return the favor in kind. Oh, and speak of the devil.
Am I interrupting something?
No, of course not. Please, allow me to take my leave. Your Majesty, Commander.
So, you heard all that, huh?
More or less. I apologize for the interruption, but there's an urgent matter at hand.
Anything I can do to help?
There is. As you know, we've offered asylum to the Central Church in their efforts to flee the Empire. As such, we are to escort the Archbishop herself to the royal capital at once. I expect heavy pursuit from the Imperial forces, so I am assembling a team of those I trust most to assist in the mission. Of course, I'll be leading my own regiment into battle, but I was wondering if you'd be willing to accompany me.
What, is that it? I'd be glad to. How are things looking at Garrick Mach while we're on the subject?
Grim. Neither the Knights of Seros nor the monastery ramparts are capable of holding off the Empire's massive military might. I dare say we have precious little time to waste. Prepare to deploy at once.